I might have to go full Bojji on this one. And while the animation might look kind of kiddie at first, the content of the show definitely is not. Even the monsters get a backstory. Those moments where you finally realize what somebody in the show has been plotting and you go, oh, that's good. Welcome to Little Orphan Anime, everybody. Ranking of Kings is an anime from 2021 about a young prince who is unable to hear or speak and his journey to become the highest ranked king in all the world with the help of a puddle of shadows and some unlikely allies. Now, I hesitated starting this show for a couple of reasons, even though everywhere I looked somebody was raving about how good Ranking of Kings was. Most of the promo art I saw had Bojji wearing a cape, a crown, and a diaper, so I had this image in my head of this little boy walking around the kingdom in his diaper, showing everyone that he was a big boy too, despite getting bullied each episode by one-dimensional villains who judged him for being deaf. I would see the artwork come up in my Funimation queue every now and then, and I would think, I don't want to watch that. But the show kept getting rave reviews, so I finally decided to check it out, and it's fantastic. First of all, Bojji is not a 5-year-old child. He's actually the older brother of Daida, the kingdom's younger prince, who looks to be in his late teens maybe. Bojji has just had his growth stunted to an extreme degree, but there is a plot-related reason for this, which the show will make clear eventually. It's not just because they wanted to make the protagonist seem cute or helpless. He also doesn't wander around in his diaper all the time. The show gives him more dignity than that. And although there are characters who try to bully Bojji for his deafness or his small stature, the show is thankfully not just a string of pity parties each episode. There is a complex and creative plot here that uses advanced storytelling techniques like flashbacks, foreshadowing, split narratives, and cliffhangers. The art style is simple, but the animation is not simplistic. Even if you don't like the art style, you should still put that 2 or 3 episode rule in place and at least give this show a shot. So what makes the show good? Well, first and foremost, Bojji is actually likable. I think a lot of that actually has to do with his voice actor, Minami Hinata, which might seem odd for a character who can't speak. He is able to vocalize though, he can make sounds, and the amount of emotional range that Hinata is able to show with just those grunts is pretty impressive. But Bojji is kind, determined, and hardworking. Combine that with a major underdog story and you've got a winning formula. And while the animation might look kind of kiddie at first, the content of the show definitely is not. There's some surprisingly graphic violence in the show, including severed limbs and other traumatic injuries. Now, the level of gore never rises to what you might see in, say, a Demon Slayer or a Jujutsu Kaisen, because unlike those shows, the violence is not one of the main features or selling points of Ranking of Kings. Another thing that surprised me about the show was the complexity of its plot and its characters. You have layer upon layer of intrigue within Bojji's kingdom, and even within his own family. The show is quite skillful in the way that it weaves in characters' backstories as it develops the main plot, and it's not afraid to take most of an episode for character development if it needs to. The result is a world of interlocking backstories that slowly combine to enrich your experience of the main plot. The queen is not just a demanding, austere noblewoman obsessed with furthering her biological son's interests, because we see how she cares about both of her sons and watch her early efforts to form a relationship with Bojji. We see why Kage, the Shadow Clan member who advises Bojji, is in the position he is in and why he is so hesitant to trust others. The knights known as the Big Four each have their motivations and loyalties explained. Seriously, I think the only characters who haven't had their backstories developed at this point are maybe some of the tavern owners and a guard or two. Even the monsters get a backstory. And the show is smart. Not all the characters are geniuses. I mean, Bojji's going to win you over with his kindness and determination, not his piercing intellect. But the characters who are supposed to be the master tacticians show off their intelligence by what they do, as well as how they conduct themselves. Unlike those shows that try to fake having a super smart character by having them spout off a few moderately high-level vocabulary words, followed by the inevitable, now say it in English doc, or Japanese, you know what I mean. That's why I appreciate Bebin so much. He doesn't hit you over the head with any cliches like a bunch of scientific jargon or a lab coat. He just shows you his intelligence by keeping his wits about him, showing astute judgment, and making really cool plans. I love it when smart characters do smart things. It's one of the reasons why shows like Breaking Bad or Death Note are such huge hits. I'm not sure if Ranking of Kings is going to be considered on par with those shows in the future, but it definitely has some of those moments in its DNA. Those moments where you finally realize what somebody in the show has been plotting and you go, oh, that's good. So, dub or sub for this show? Well, you've got both options on either Crunchyroll or Funimation, which is nice. As far as the English dub goes, it's pretty good. Sungwon Cho, Pro ZD himself, is a standout as Kage, but I thought most of the main cast gave fine performances. There are some of the usual problems with American actors trying to voice children, and I was a bit surprised at how low Kage's mom's voice was. Listen to this.
Found you!
One of them got away! Kill it!
Don't hurt my boy. Okay, Marin Miller actually sounds like this.
Your mom shouldn't have any trouble with these men.
and she's fine in the role. There's just a bit of a change in pitch if you're moving from the Japanese version to the English version. Personally, I would go with the sub option on this show, but if you prefer dubs or you have a hard time reading subtitles, then the English version is fine. Because of its growing popularity, I'm hoping that Ranking of Kings will get a second season, but we'll see. I give Ranking of Kings a 9 out of 10 Bojjis, and depending on how the show ends, I might have to go full Bojji on this one. So let me know what you think of Ranking of Kings down in the comments, or if you plan on watching the show now after seeing this video. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Don't hurt my boy.